What's good, everybody? It's your boy, the Kid. We're back with another video. We are here to talk about the Commissioner Cup, the preview of it. Not necessarily going through every game or anything like that. Really, just looking at some of the early games, the games that start this weekend/week, and then kind of just predicting, trying to choose who we think will be at least in the mix, heavily on each conference or each side of the conference. We'll start with the East. Obviously, when you have Atlanta, who is currently the number 1 seed, Indiana's number 2. The next Eastern Conference team would be Chicago. They're 3-3. Then you have Toronto, New York, right? New York is Eastern Conference. Yeah, New York is Eastern Conference this weekend. Washington and Connecticut. So you have those teams in the Eastern Conference. Obviously, when you look at on paper, you're looking at New York, you're looking at Atlanta, you're looking at Indiana as the top 3 teams. But I think teams like the Mystics and the Sky will be really interesting in this kind of situations because it's really just about winning the games that are in front of you, honestly. And I know that might sound kind of dumb to say out loud, but sometimes it comes down to matchups. Sometimes it's just, are you healthy at the right time? Is your team winning or playing well at the right time type of thing? Sometimes it's just, your team has been rolling for that whole stretch of the season, so they continue to roll in that situation, like Minnesota in years past. But then you had teams like Indiana who were able to still make things happen with their best player out. So I think it'll be really interesting to see how that all shakes out. It starts on Monday. We have the Storm and the Wings, and then we have the Lynx and the Mercury playing. And I'm curious to see how certain teams go about this. Like, I think Phoenix is still going to try to win regardless. And I don't think Seattle is trying to lose necessarily. Like, I don't think they're, like, going out and, like, all right, we're going out and trying to lose this game. But how seriously do some of these teams take it is how I look at it. But a team like Dallas, I would think this is a big thing for them of wanting to at least be in the mix to try to get into like a playoff situation, playoff atmosphere, where a game where it's like if you win, you have a chance to get into the Commissioner Cup, final or something like that, where you're in the mix. You need to win a game or you need someone to lose a game, and you get that experience of it because a lot of their players are young, haven't played in the playoffs yet. As for Minnesota, I think if they continue to just roll and play the way they've played, and Napheesa Collier is set to come back at some point in June. So if they're able to get a win over Phoenix to start out 1-0, that would be big for them. You have the Sun and the Dream. We're just going to go ahead and chalk that up as a win for the Dream. The Aces and Sparks, who have already played this year. So that'll be interesting to see. I think the Aces in these situations are always going to be the team that you're looking at like, okay, I'm going to give them the edge. But the Aces, I don't think since 2022 have been in a Commissioner. Oh, actually, yeah, I think they got to 1 Commissioner Cup final, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but I feel like they got to 1 off the top of my head, because you had Seattle win 1, Chicago won 1, I believe, or did Vegas win 1 and then New York won 1? I can't remember, or maybe it was, I don't know. We have the Sky and the Mystics, which I think is really interesting because you have 2 younger teams. Obviously, Washington is the youngest team in the league. Chicago has some young players, not necessarily fully young, but they have some young players that this is a big game for everyone that's in it, obviously, with it being the first game. And I think one of the most interesting games of this coming week, like not this weekend, but the week, like next week, the Fire and the Valkyries. I think them playing against each other in the first one, like their first Commissioner Cups games, is going to be really, really fun and really interesting. Like the atmosphere is going to be a playoff type of atmosphere, so I'm really interested to see how both of those teams come out and play. If I had to say who I think will come out of the East, it's hard to not go with the Fever since they did it last year, because if I'm not mistaken, I feel like almost every time one of the teams, like a team that got there the year before, either got back and lost or got back and won. like there's been repeats, not like necessarily like back to backs, but there's been teams that like, oh, we were here, we're back in it, we just didn't win this year. So that's one thing I'm looking at for sure. It's like if Indiana's healthy, I like them in a 1-game playoff type of situation against Indiana or against Atlanta. If New York is healthy, obviously they are heavily in that conversation. And the big thing about the Commissioner Cup is it doesn't matter what your regular record is. New York being 3-4 right now, and then Atlanta and Indiana being 4-1 and 4-2 respectively doesn't matter, because if New York wins all the games that they won and they still have more losses in the column and less wins, it wouldn't matter. It's only about the Commissioner's Cup game. So I love that it's open for everybody. Like, as much as, a Connecticut or Seattle you may not think has a chance to win it, you just never know what'll happen. Like, obviously I'm not saying that either of those teams are going to, but like, I think in the West there's a bunch of teams that you could say have a really good chance. Like, almost everybody in the West, I would say probably Seattle and Phoenix have the least amount of chance, but I think obviously Vegas, Golden State, Dallas, Los Angeles, Minnesota, and even Portland, I think all of those teams are going to be in dogfights and in real battles. And it's not only going to be like win-loss, like it's going to come down to differential. Who did you win or who did you beat versus who did you lose to? Like, all these different things are going to come into it, and I think that's what makes this so interesting. The East obviously has one less team. And I still think outside of Connecticut, they have a bunch of teams that are going to compete and have a chance to win. Like, I could see the Mystics, getting on a roll and winning some big games that they need to. Like, they beat Indiana already this year. I think they lost to Atlanta early. Let's see. No, they haven't played Atlanta yet. They played Atlanta in the preseason. That's what it was. But they have a win over the Tempo. They have a loss to the Liberty. Went over the Fever, lost to the Wings, lost to the Storm, and they play the Storm tonight. So I think the Mystics, if they can figure out, because I feel like they haven't played a lot of games, so it's kind of hard to figure out exactly what they have going on. And granted, Atlanta's only played 5, but they've won more of their games, and I would say they have more of a set, like, we know what we want to do on a night in, night out basis, versus Washington, who is still very young, obviously youngest team in the league, and then they're bringing in a Lauren Betts, they're bringing back a Georgia A. Moore, who didn't get to play in the regular season last year. You're bringing in a Duga Leach and a Michaela Onyenwere and a Cody McMahon and a Rory Harmon. You're bringing in all these players, and you're trying to mesh that rather quickly, because the WNBA season, while it is longer than it has been, it's not 80 games. You don't have 65 games to get a rhythm. You really got to get that rhythm like almost right away, or your season could be over by the All-Star break or whatever. So I think Washington is one of those teams to look out for if you're in the East. Like, you cannot sleep on them at all. Chicago is a team that, like, with a Skylar Diggins and Natasha Cloud, like, those kinds of players they live for these kinds of games and these kinds of situations. So you obviously are going to look at them as well and be like, okay, you have to be cognizant. Like, just because the record says something or personnel says something, like, you have to be cognizant of what is going on the court, or like who you're playing against and how you approach that game. And then New York, I think New York is scary if they get healthy. And obviously, Sabrina's back. Satu got sick. But if they can get healthy and, like, get people rolling, because I don't think the actual game is until, August? So you have some time. Or maybe September the game is. I can't really remember for sure. It was probably August. But you have a lot of time to really get ready and mesh well. So that's another thing. Is like, this isn't just a 1 week, 2 week thing. Like, this thing, it takes time because everybody's got to play each other once. So I'm very interested to see how a lot of these teams come out and play in the Commissioner's Cup games specifically, especially when you have that point differential that I mentioned earlier, where some teams might try to run up the score, some teams might keep their players in a little too long. And sometimes that could be to a detriment on both sides, whether you're winning or losing in that situation. So that'll be something to look at. I think the Sparks offense keeps them in any game or gives them a chance to win any game, but their defense gives them a chance to lose any game at the same time. The Aces, I think, if they play defense at the level that they're capable of, I think they have the best chance of coming out of the West. But I think Golden State is a very, very, like, if I had to choose in the West, something is telling me, like, Golden State could do it. If I had to choose in the East, I think I would choose Indiana. If I had to choose in the West, it's hard to go against the Aces because they've proven to be so battle tested and ready for moments like this. But I think I'm gonna go Golden State. I think I'm gonna go Indiana versus Golden State in the Commissioner's Cup, because I just feel like Golden State does give a lot of teams problems, and they're getting healthier. Xander Lazini is back. Yustio Shite has finally come over. She's coming off the bench at the moment, but I think the more that they're able to add and the more that they're able to, gain confidence even more from last year to now, I think that helps them a lot in this situation. And then, Minnesota. Minnesota's another one where Cheryl Reeve is just doing a phenomenal job coaching that team. And a surprise to no one, honestly. I mean, I think you can I don't want to say easily, but you can definitely make the argument that she's the best coach in the WNBA, like, ever. I think she's earned that. I think every year, whether she's had Amaya Moore, Simone Augustus, Sylvia Fowles, Lindsay Whalen on her team, or she had Nafisa and Courtney Williams and Alana Smith and Kayla McBride, like, those teams had the same kind of expectations from her, not necessarily from the outside, but from her they had the same kind of expectations, and they damn near had the same results. And it's not over yet. They still could get to those results. So that's another team that, depending on when Nafisa comes back, that would potentially change my opinion of who would come out of the West. Because I would love to see Dallas, like, really be in the mix. I would love to see, like, I would just love to see it, like, we're coming down to those last few games, like, the last few teams had to play each other, and it's like 3 or 4 teams on each side, like, have a real chance of getting in or, like, making it to the Commissioner's Cup. I think that is the best thing that could happen. And obviously, depending on what those teams are, it's going to draw more eyes to the league. And then if you get, depending on who you get in the Commissioner's Cup, that's going to draw even more eyes. So that's something that the W is probably super excited about, is, like, they have so many teams that they feel like are really good this year. Like, there's probably really only one team that, like, for sure is probably not going to, make a real dent in this thing. But even a Phoenix or a Seattle could cause some trouble and be in the mix and stir the pot a little bit. So I'm very interested to see who comes out of the Commissioner's Cup. We'll talk about it each week and kind of break down what's happened. But I appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. Let me know in the comments who you think is going to make it to the Commissioner's Cup. Is it your team? Is it a different team? Are you being a little biased? Are you being unbiased? Let me know in the comments, because we're okay with either. I'm a little biased sometimes. I'm also unbiased more often than not. I try to be, at least. So yeah, let me know in the comments. I appreciate you guys for watching.